Hello, everyone. My name is Bob Dean, and I've spent my entire career in professional services. I'm a CPA. I spent 7 years as an auditor in an accounting firm, and the rest of my career I've spent focused on learning and development in this industry. But in the last couple of years, I've reinvented myself because I've been focusing on business innovation, and in particular, business innovation in the experience economy. Now, believe it or not, we're all living and working in the experience economy, but you may not think about it. But this book, a groundbreaking book that came out in 1999, The Experience Economy by Joe Pine and Jim Gilmore, focused on what was happening in the 90s as many businesses were creating new customers, new industries, and new business models around experiences for customers. I have been, in the last 2 years, I have been focused on how to help professional services firms to innovate their customer experiences and to actually differentiate their businesses. And here you see a picture of me a couple of years after I got certified in this book. And we've talked a lot about life-changing experiences. Well, the certification in the experience economy, for me, not only was life-changing, but it's ongoing. It has been transformational for me as a business person. So I want to share with you what the experience economy is all about. And you see here the fundamental framework of this book. It's in chapter 1. It's called The Progression of Economic Value. And it fundamentally says that we're going through shifts in our economy, and we're in the middle of one right now. We started out with an agrarian economy, and this is when farming was producing the bulk of what our country's economy was reaping. Then we moved to the industrial era, and goods, the making of goods, became the most significant part of our economy. I lived the movement to the service economy when almost every company said, well, we sell goods, but we're going to get into the service business. And ultimately, we are now in the experience economy. Now, what I want to do is give you a story that'll make this real for everyone, because I'm going to give you a story that we can all relate to, the story of the birthday party. My grandmother used to make the greatest birthday cakes for me when I was a young boy, and she would go to the store and she would pay pennies to buy the ingredients for a great birthday cake. She'd get the flour, she'd get the sugar, she would get the icing, the candles, and it would all cost very little, and she would make that homemade birthday cake from scratch. Well, my mother, a few years later, decided, that was a lot of hard work, and even though I'm a good cook, I think I'm going to go to the grocery store and get the Betty Crocker cake mix off the shelf as a good, and I'm just going to go home and make that cake out of the cake mix, and it'll be a lot faster and a lot less messy, and the icing will even be in the cake mix. Well, my wife decided later she could take advantage of a service, and she went to the grocery store after calling them and picking up that customized birthday cake for me that probably now cost about $10 to $12 a few years ago. I'm not sure what it is today, but it had my name on it, and it had a soccer ball on it, and it was customized, and basically that was the cake as a service. Well, guess what we've gotten to? Now my wife, with one of our youngest children, can outsource the whole thing. The whole birthday cake and experience and party gets outsourced to Chuck E. Cheese. They made a mint by turning the birthday into an experience. That is the experience economy. We're living it, and we're paying a premium for those experiences. Now, I want to give you another example that you can all relate to. Some brilliant people at Starbucks about 20 years ago said, we can take an industry sector that's really very low key, and we can turn it into something big. And guess, it was coffee. So the beans, which you can buy and grind, again, cost pennies. The Folgers can on the shelf, or the Maxwell House, is nowadays probably about $10, but you can get a lot more cups of coffee out of it, and it's more convenient and efficient. When you go to a restaurant, The waiter or waitress is going to pour the coffee. The service is actually the pouring. That's the service. And you pay a couple bucks for that, maybe more. You may get free refills. But Starbucks said, we think we can turn this all into an experience. And we're going to create the Starbucks coffee shop experience. And of course, the rest is history. They now have this huge global business. They have millions and millions of loyal customers. And for many people, the Starbucks experience is a daily occurrence. And of course, there's been many others that have come along as Me Too's, and it's created an industry for others as well. So this is the experience economy. Now, I want to give you one model and framework out of the book, because this reason the authors have certified people in this book is because it's full of models and frameworks that they observed as they looked at companies that were thriving in the experience economy. They didn't invent the experience economy. They discovered it. And this model is one that's particularly powerful. It's called the 4 experiential realms of a compelling and memorable experience, the 4 E's. And their studies indicated that in every great experience, you can find all 4 of these elements. And if you do, you're going to hit that sweet spot in the middle. And that's where you're going to get great customer loyalty. And you can see the 4 E's up in front of you. There's a little bit of entertainment in a great experience. There's some education in a great experience. But the other 2 are perhaps today even more important. The aesthetic feels right. It feels like it's the right place to be for the next 30 minutes or the next hour or the next day. And if you're a Starbucks customer, you can probably relate to that. No matter, not all Starbucks are the same. But for their loyal customers, the aesthetic is good for that time. And then the 4th piece is probably even more important. It's an escape. And we all need some level of escape, because we are in a world that is slammed, and the escape is part of the experience. So what I've done in my work over the last couple of years is I've taken the progression of economic value that you saw, of commodities to goods to services to experiences to transformation, and I've actually applied it in professional services. I believe that just as Starbucks has differentiated itself in the coffee industry, that professional services firms, whether they be accounting firms, consulting firms, engineering firms, PR firms, they all can actually differentiate themselves as well. And you can see the boxes, in effect, which I have named, and the 4th box of collaborative best team experiences is where I believe many professional services firms need to get to. There's been a lot of talk about this over the years, about bringing the best team to the client at the right time. But I think that's the level that we should be striving for. And the 4 axes that you see around the sides are actually the ways of getting there. And just very briefly, on the left side, how do you solve problems with your client? Do you do it in a way that's reactive and prescriptive, or do you do it in a way that's proactive and collaborative? Across the top, how do you bring visionary insights to your clients? Do you do it in a historical way, or do you do it in a way that is truly leading edge and the latest thinking that your client needs? On the right side, and this is really, I think, a very important opportunity for differentiation, what is your performance space with your client? And the performance space for a professional services firm can be anything from their lobby to their nicest conference room to perhaps a Starbucks where they're meeting a client, or it could even be a virtual space. I'm actually doing a lot of work myself with virtual consulting, where I'm using an online performance space as the way I do business. And finally, on the bottom, what is your commitment to the relationship? Do you want to be an expert for hire, or do you want to be a true, trusted partner? And you see the arrow going up the middle, and this gets back to where we started with the birthday cake. It's all about customization. We all know that services and experiences can be customized for us. We've had it happen for us. We expect it in professional services as well. So that's the experience economy as a component of business innovation today, and ultimately how you can differentiate your business by creating transformational experiences for both your customers and your employees.